so I have 20 odd minutes. I'm gonna make this video short and concise. So I mean, like I said in the previous videos, um, like I would have changed my past, had I could help it. Like I look at 2026 and you ask like anything to prevent, this current circumstance that I and many other people are in. I would have certainly done it. Um, you look at your regrets, um, because like I don't see a binary future. I don't see a generic, view it through numbers. I like I feel awful. Like I feel awful every day at the end result. And obviously, you prefer a smooth landing over like some rough landing, like some rough, crazy landing. And I feel terrible, for the other people, like, and because again, like this isn't an act. This isn't me acting. This isn't, it's me being sincere and genuine. This is me not trying to like come off a certain way. People try to come off a certain way, try to like appeal to emotion. I already said, I'm straight objective. I already know where my place is. I know the people I screwed over, implicitly or not, and passively, because again, like just because you do something even for yourself, or you own something, right? You could just the same way you can overuse an electrical resource and you could destroy the grid in your local area. That's something I could do. That's something I can do that in like, so the actions I do myself, they do affect other people, even if they don't know me. And because again, if it takes, the destructions of other people's worlds, and I'm being like dimensions, like that's to the level I'm talking about here, then if we're talking about like the destruction of different peoples, different worlds, and different means of like obtaining energy, like be it like emotional energy or energy, any of these things, it only makes sense that that logically speaking, that like like it only makes sense that like that like you want to make sure you understand like that, your part, your responsibility in destroying people's lives, even if you didn't intend on it. And especially if you're a generational immigrant, they're gonna lay the blame on you, because you're not first gen. And obviously, like with every cause of death, like like obviously everybody signs off, signed waiver and legal in terms of service before saying or doing anything. So like it, so I don't speak for on other people, and that's why I say, like, if I could help it, I'd change the past. I'd change it. Even if it was one little thing I said, one little look, the way I looked at someone, because you don't know if anyone's taking it literally or not, because you don't know what's going on in the person's mind. The physical world is very flawed. It's flawed in a way where, bumping into objects, or shallow pools, or like diving into shallow water, or a roof that's too small and all that. And like I don't even know who's around me anymore, because it seems like these people, like they're popping out of nowhere, like they're teleporting into the realm, and there's like somehow the police have like infinite manpower. Like you hear the siren, like I don't even know if it's a police from our dimension or if it's someone else, and all we know is that you hear the sirens and all that, and you don't even know who it is at this point. So I mean, maybe it's like a multiverse, and it's all connected back to this verse. And like I said, like if I could change the past, if I could help it, I'd change the past. But I can't, right? Like I can't, delay Columbus's voyage, or I don't know, tell the white, like tell us the white men, like like to tell them that that your future looks like this, goy slop and like fast food joints and retail, what do they call it, car dependent suburbia and retail islands, or like American, um suburban malls. And I mean, they had a name for it. It was called like late stage capitalism, or like American, American produced, um, like the little outlet malls, and uncontrolled capitalism being the end of humanity. And it's very obvious that it is, because it seems like if you don't have like a leash on certain people, they seem to lose all sense of sanity. And in the absence of leadership, they'll follow anyone or anything, even like a little advertisement. And I tell that to you truthfully. And I mean, whether it's an emotional thing, the person is avoiding some kind of emotional burden, or like trying to avoid like the worst possible way of death, because everyone dies, right? But it's the way you die and how you die, and all those things. That's what kind of counts. Which is relevant, because like I personally, you see the passage of time, and you quantify these things. And so, because the thing is, if the person's randomly attacking, right, there has to be a reason. And violence is, unfortunately, people are saying violence is never the answer. I think it's the opposite. I think violence is the answer, especially when revolutions and there's revolts, and actual like effective revolutions, and a population that signs onto it, and they're willing to because violence results in action, right? Because if nobody got violent, then nothing would happen, right? And so violence does result in action. And again, I hate to be the one to say these things, because I know I'm just one out of 1,700 people in my high school. I know that it's not fair to them. It's not really fair to them, because they could have been the ones making these videos. They're the ones who actually attended, University of Waterloo, walked out with a degree, just as they intended to. And that's the difference, in my opinion. That's the difference. However, I mean, if they sold their soul in the process, I can't speak on that. If the person even believes that the concept of a soul exists, if they believe that there is no soul, then that's what they believe, right? And I don't hold judgment. Maybe they're from a dimension where that's the case, right? But I said, this is all nerfed talk, and I mean, some of this stuff is common sense, but I have to establish it for myself, because again, at this point, I don't even know if the person even knows these things, if they have to be told again, because it's you have to relearn everything, and then someone erases it, and you have to redo it, and so I just make the video assuming there's zero knowledge of who I am, and this might be the first video of me you see. And I've been truthful and fair up until this point. I'm trying to take accountability for what I did wrong. And obviously everybody thinks oh yeah, you're just making this you're making this the thing is, nobody wanted real life to end up being in the fucking movies. And I would have never stepped in the movie theater had I known that the world is this, and I would have never watched the shitty movies and all that, because if the actors fought each other, the actors fought each other and they killed each other, the world would be a better place, right? Because it's goy slop, right? I mean, whether a person has situational awareness to watch a movie and then make conclusions from it, and then just they watch a movie and they make conclusions from it. And what about Brian? Shit. The person has the capacity to watch a movie and make conclusions about it, then you'd have to ask you could be using that mental attention and that mental energy somewhere else. You could put that energy into something productive or useful. And I'm not saying this like I'm judging people and telling them how to live and what to say and what not to say. Like I'm the last person, but I'm pretty critical about this because it's relatively serious. Like, the situation is relatively serious. And I mean, someone had to make a statement, right? Like, this isn't your goy slop, FIFA World Cup. And I mean, abusing human nature. I mean, like these actors and athletes, if they die of a drug overdose, then it's justified, right? Because they took the indigenous people's land, right? They took the people's land, and I already said it. Sandy Parisian is a good man. He did the right thing because he was on his own land, right? And so, what happened at that park in Oppenheimer Park was justified. Now, obviously, it's too late in the year 2026 to create these kinds of videos. The situation already occurred, and like other legal situations, and it's not up to me to justify or quantify it. But like, I think he did the right thing. I mean, along with these actors and I mean the people watching the movie in the first place. I would have never stepped into a movie theater had I known this. I would have never stepped out of my house, right, in the first place, right? Because, he walked properly, he breathed the wrong way, he said something, he looked at someone, and then that's it. The conflict starts, and the whole thing falls apart. So, it's just the truth, and it takes almost nothing to start a conflict in 2026. So, I'm saying it truthfully. I would have done things differently. I would have done things differently. I would have changed my behavior. I would have I would no, because I get it. I started off at a certain level. I started off at a certain level. I've offered free housing for the homeless. And again, I can come off as a pipsqueak and people can call me names and whatever, but the situation is serious now. I don't care about the typical school bullying and all this shit, because I get it. Nobody needs these people in a position of power. Nobody needed me to watch those shitbox movies and when things in real life are problematic. I mean, I don't remember watching the movie too well. I don't even know why I was watching the movies. I mean, I don't know if at 6 years old you wanted a person with an elementary school level of reading comprehension to respond to the world and to to create a collective argument, to create a response to very serious situations and very serious situations and very complex, and just dealing with how complicated real life is in 2026, right? A 6-year-old's mind trying to respond and to correlate even a response to the difficulties of the human condition. It's a hefty demand on me and my peers, right? So I don't represent them. I don't represent them. I don't represent any person. And again, perhaps because I didn't ask to be born, right? And I could have been one of the aborted ones who didn't make it to 2000, whatever, right? Shit, I'm losing breath. No, but if you're living, the thing is, if I'm not eating food, right, I'd be, you'd be living off good vibes and good moments. Be living off good vibes, good moments. And again, these videos are the person's last resort, right? I regret it. I regret not helping the homeless. I would have offered the free housing for the homeless. I don't deem myself to be more competent than the average person, really. And even the average person, like I said, they can't survive. The modern world is way too complicated for the average person. It's very, very difficult. All the warning signs are there to not even continue. It's not even worth it to continue. I get disrespected a lot for this reason but then again, it's not all my fault. It's also my parents' fault, right? They're somewhat to blame for the state of my life. I watched on Dr. Phil, 30 years old living with his parents, 40 years old living with parents. And I don't judge these people because I'm in the same position. I'm 25, still making money and all that. But these things aren't really relevant because the situation isn't such that I could have been one of the people who ended up on the news, right? So I'm not even speaking on one thing or another, And obviously, if somebody wanted to blame someone, maybe they're pinning the blame on me, that, oh yeah, this one moment I did this or that. Well, then again, if the person's not alive, you can't put the blame on them. You can't put the blame on someone who's not conscious or doesn't even know what they're doing. They don't even know what's going on. So you can't put the blame on them. No, but you can't put the blame on such a person. And when your prisons are getting full, you can't put the blame on me. You can't put the blame on the others. And this is why this kind of video is very serious. And again, I manually had to override a bunch of things. I had to manually fight with my mom. If I would kill my parents the same way Jennifer Pan did, like, I would do it. But don't get me wrong, like, I didn't, right? I had some control. There's so many moments I wanted to fucking strangle that fucking woman and fuck her. But like, again, anger and violence unfortunately solves problems. So that's why I would. And my mom is responsible for some of the problems, right? There was a destiny, there was a fate that someone at U of T, I'm not even talking about just Jennifer Pan. I'm just talking about, there's so many people that there happened to have been a person who was like, this one guy, this one guy, he's studying at U of T. He's trying to get his degree, but he because the world rewards bad behavior, because the world rewards violence, and it's like you sacrifice people to get the objective result. What would happen is that I would have been that person who would have been sacrificed, right? Because I'm my mom's son, right? I'm my mother's son, and I'm a living human being who is Canadian, who would be sacrificed to such a cause. So it's just the truth, in the videos, truth of the matter. I mean, anything is possible at this point, because with this many people and this many realities and this many rules and this many things that you can't say and you can say, the 613 rules of the Torah or the Old Testament, you can add thousands of rules, because you don't even know what's going on at this point. You don't know who you're fighting. You don't know what's going on. And I would have never stepped outside of my house had I known that these things are the way they are. Like, I would have never, I totally regret it. Even the idea that stepping outside of your house is a big deal, right? He took a foot outside of his house. Let's make a rap song about it, and all these things. And I get that, and I get why these people make these songs, and I get why they make these songs, and I get why they do these things, because they weren't a big deal. But then the person realizes, they wake up one day and their brain actually turns on, and they're like, oh shit, I woke up and I took a step outside my house, but the other person didn't even have a chance to wake up that day. And so, all these inventions and all these inventors and all this effort, people will still bite the hand that feeds them, which is why I kind of even stopped caring about the family doctor crisis in Ontario. Like if the person's biting the hand that feeds them, what's the point in even helping them? Like, when you see the humanity and the state of humanity, what's the point in even helping out? Because if the person won't respect you, they won't even listen to what you have to say, they won't even go on the computer, to watch the video, why would I want to support that person in their dire need of health? I wouldn't help them. If they don't respect me, I wouldn't help them. And so this is it. It's a secular society. I think it should be secular, and it will remain secular for as long as I'm alive. I sincerely wish that the society remains secular. I'm against interracial marriage, for the most part. I don't tell people what to do. I don't give advice. None of this should be taken as advice, and I'm not responsible for anything that anybody does after watching my videos. And these are things I have to put, like, with the little thing saying needless to say, because it's like, people will do that. They're sadistic. They're sadistic enough that they're gonna intentionally get hurt in order to perpetuate the fact that, oh, he did it, and they'll justify in their brain, right? The person can justify anything in their brain, and like I said, in the absence of true leadership, the person will believe anything. And Bukowski said, Bukowski said that, men aren't good one-on-one, right? So it's not that, men are good one-on-one or not. It's more like, that's the part of it. But the other part is, like, that, like the other thing, like, men aren't good one-on-one, you know, again, like, this isn't a movie, this isn't like a joke, you know, like things are pretty serious now. And so, like, every video, you know, like, it matters, you know. Now all lives matter, right? Like, just like Black Lives Matter, you know, real life matters, right? So the movies should be turned off, right? The movies with you know, those actors. I mean, the thing is, if we're canceling everything, when we go back to the Stone Age, like, if we cancel everything and you go back to the Stone Age, like, because, you know, like, because people, you know, because nobody's gonna make anything, no one's gonna produce anything, because everything is bad, you know, everything is evil, everything is bad, everything is canceled. You don't even know what you can or can't say. You know, like, you know, like, just like in those Muslim countries, right? Like, where everyone's wearing a hijab, and, you know, these things are kind of like needless to say. You know, I didn't intend to, you know, I don't, like, it's unsolicited, you know. Nobody asked, right? Nobody asked, other than the fact if you clicked on the channel and you decided to watch the video. And other than that, you know, I hold no judgment, right? You know, I'm you know, I'm 25, right? Grown man making these videos, and I take full responsibility for anybody that misinterprets or no, I take responsibility of my own actions that I've done, not what other people do with unsolicited advice. Like, you don't watch a movie and you do what the movie says. No, you don't. So why would you listen to these videos and do what they do? You know, it's not really logical. And